Harper was a young woman with dreams much bigger than her modest life. At just 23 years old, she worked tirelessly at Rosie's Diner, a small rundown restaurant in the heart of New York. The peeling paint on the walls and the flickering neon sign at the entrance reflected her daily struggles. Nevertheless, Lily always managed to smile. She had a special gift, not only for serving customers but for making people feel seen and valued. Despite her long shifts and meager salary, Lily had a habit that made her stand out. Every night after her shift, she would gather leftover food from the dining room and distribute it among the homeless people she encountered on her way home. It was a small act of kindness, but for those she helped it meant the world. One particularly rainy and cold night, the city streets were soaked. Lily was hurrying home, clutching her worn coat. Suddenly, she noticed a small figure huddled under a bus shelter. It was a small boy, no older than 8, shivering in the storm, his clothes completely drenched. The scene broke her heart. "Hello," she said softly, kneeling beside him. "Are you okay? Where are your parents?" The boy looked up, his face pale and frightened. "I don't know," he whispered with a trembling voice. "Are you hungry?" Lily asked. Without a second thought, she took the boy's hand and led him back to the restaurant. The rain soaked them both, but Lily didn't care. Once inside, she wrapped him in a warm blanket and served him a steaming bowl of soup. The boy's face lit up as he ate, and for the first time that night, Lily felt a warm sensation in her chest despite the cold. What Lily didn't know was that someone had been watching her from across the street. An elegant black car was parked with the engine running. Inside, Keanu Reeves, a well-known actor and philanthropist, had been driving around the area after a stressful day, seeking to clear his mind in the quiet streets. First, it was just curiosity. Who was that young woman kneeling in the rain next to a homeless boy? But as Keanu watched Lily guide the boy to the restaurant and care for him, he couldn't look away. Her actions were so genuine, so selfless, that they touched a deep chord within him. "Who is she?" he murmured to himself, his gaze fixed on the restaurant. For the first time in years, Keanu felt something stir within him, a sense of wonder and admiration he couldn't explain. He noted the name of the restaurant and left, but the image of Lily remained etched in his mind. Long after returning to his luxurious penthouse, the following days were a blur for Lily. Between juggling double shifts and caring for her sick younger brother, who depended on her to pay for his medications, she barely had time to think about the boy she had helped. Yet, the memory of his smile persisted, giving her strength to overcome her exhaustion. Meanwhile, Keanu couldn't stop thinking about the waitress. He had everything money could buy, but he couldn't get the image of Lily in the rain, offering her warmth and kindness to someone who had nothing, out of his head. It wasn't just her actions that captivated him but the purity of her heart. He needed to know more about her. One night, Keanu Reeves made a decision. Dressed in simple, inconspicuous clothing, he appeared outside the modest restaurant. He entered through Rosie's door. The bell above the entrance tinkled softly, catching the attention of Lily, who was balancing a tray of dishes. Her hair slightly frizzed from the humidity, and her smile as radiant as ever impressed him. Lily greeted him with the same warmth she offered all her customers. "Welcome to Rosie's, sit wherever you like," she said cheerfully, despite the tiredness in her eyes. Keanu chose a table in the corner, following Lily's every move with his gaze. He observed how she treated each customer with the same kindness she had shown that rainy night. She served an elderly couple with care, offered a free coffee refill to a struggling mother, and even stopped to ask after a regular customer who seemed unusually quiet. Each interaction confirmed what Keanu already suspected. Lily not only had a pure heart, but her warmth and generosity were authentic. Something had awakened in him, and he was determined to get to know her better. He knew this woman was extraordinary. After finishing his meal, Keanu handed Lily the bill without saying much. But as he stood up, he slipped an envelope under his plate. Lily didn't notice it until she went to clear the table. Inside the envelope was a stack of new bills, much more than any normal tip. Her hands trembled as she counted the money. Her mind raced with questions. She ran outside, searching for the mysterious man, but he was gone. The elegant black car she had noticed had disappeared. The rest of the night, Lily couldn't stop wondering who he was and why he had left her such a generous tip. The next morning, The restaurant was bustling with activity. Lily tied on her apron and began her shift, unaware that her life was about to change forever. She was still thinking about the homeless boy she had helped a few days ago, hoping he had found a safe place to rest. But her focus quickly shifted to the customers entering. By the time noon arrived, the restaurant's main door opened, and a tall man in sunglasses appeared, elegantly dressed in a tailored suit and polished shoes. Among the casual diners, Lily didn't notice him at first because she was busy taking the order of an elderly couple. But when a hostess approached her whispering, "That gentleman over there requested you be his waitress," Lily looked at the man with surprise. She didn't recognize him at first, but when their eyes met, a strange sensation tugged at her. The man smiled warmly, his gaze lingering as if studying her reaction. Lily shrugged off the strange feeling and approached his table with her notepad and pen in hand. "Good afternoon," she said in her usual friendly tone. "What can I get for you today, sir?" He hesitated for a moment before responding. "I'll take the special of the day, but only if you promise to take a break and join me for coffee later." Lily blinked, surprised by his request. "Oh, I'm sorry, but I don't usually take breaks during my shift. Is there anything else you'd like with your order?" The man chuckled. "Just the special for now," he said, handing her the menu. As Lily walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something different about him, but she decided not to give it too much thought. As the service progressed, the man observed Lily closely, watching how she treated each customer with patience and kindness, no matter how busy or stressful it got. She carried trays with practiced ease, smiled even at the grumpiest diners, and checked tables to ensure everyone was satisfied. It was clear that Lily was not only hardworking but also extraordinary. When she brought the bill, the man reached into his wallet to pay and pulled out a credit card. But as she turned to leave, he stopped her. "Wait," he said. "There's something I'd like to ask you." Lily paused, tilting her head curiously. "Do you remember helping a homeless boy on the street last week?" Her eyes widened in surprise. "Yes, I remember," she replied. "How do you know about that?" He smiled knowingly. "Let's just say someone saw something that day. A young woman who went out of her way to help someone in need. They were impressed by your compassion." Lily blushed, feeling slightly embarrassed. "It was nothing really. He needed help, and I just did what anyone would do." "But not everyone would have done it," the man said firmly. "What you did," he added, "people would have walked by without a second thought." With that, he handed her a folded letter, a slip of paper along with the bill. "This is for you," he said. "Open it after I leave." Lily looked at the paper, confused but too polite to refuse. She watched as the man stood up, smiled at her one last time, and walked out of the restaurant. Curiosity got the better of her, and she quickly unfolded the note. Inside was a check for $50,000. Under the astonishing amount was a handwritten message. "Your kindness has inspired me. Use this to create the future you deserve." Lily's heart soared. She grabbed the check with shaking hands and ran out into the street, looking for any sign of the man, but he was already gone. Her mind swirled with questions. Who was he? Why would he give her such an incredible gift? And why did he seem so familiar? That night, sitting in her small apartment, Lily couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious man. She wanted to return the check. It was too much money for her to accept, but there was no contact information on the note, and she had no idea how to find him. What Lily didn't know was that the man who had been in the restaurant that day was a trusted member of Keanu Reeves' staff. Days turned into weeks, and Lily's life began to transform in unexpected ways. Thanks to the money she had received, she was able to help her little brother, pay off her debts, and start saving to fulfill a dream she had cherished for a long time. To open a small cafe, a place where, regardless of their situation, everyone could find a hot meal, a comforting drink, and above all, a warm smile. She had always dreamed of providing a refuge for those most in need, especially homeless people like the boy she had helped without a second thought. However, even though everything seemed to be going well, Lily kept wondering who the man was that had changed her life so radically. Who was he really? Why had he been so generous to her? One day after a long shift at the restaurant, as she was walking back to her modest apartment, an elegant black car pulled up gently beside her. The window slowly lowered, and there with a warm smile was he, the man who had given her the opportunity to make her dreams come true. "I was hoping to run into you," he said, a smile that seemed to light up his face. Lily's heart skipped a beat. That voice, that man's face. It was all so surreal. Her mind still couldn't process it. Why had he given her so much money? Who was he really? These questions filled her mind as she looked into the eyes of this man who, despite his apparent coolness, seemed to emanate a deep kindness. "Why did you give me that money?" she dared to ask, her voice trembling with confusion. The man stepped out of the car with a relaxed yet dignified demeanor, and an air of calmness that contrasted with Lily's anxiety. His face was serious, but his eyes conveyed something else, something genuine. "I owe you an explanation," he said in a low but warm voice. "My name is Keanu Reeves. You might know me from some of the films I've been in." Lily almost couldn't believe what she was hearing. Keanu Reeves. The name resonated in her head like a distant echo, and her jaw dropped in astonishment. It couldn't be. How could she be standing before him, one of the most recognizable figures in cinema? How had he come to her, a simple waitress struggling to fulfill her dreams? "I didn't tell you who I was," Keanu continued, breaking the silence with a gentle smile, "because I wanted to see how you'd react. I've spent years building a career in film, but I've never met anyone quite like you. I saw what you did for that homeless boy, and it wasn't just a fleeting act of kindness. It showed something more. It showed me who you really are. Your generosity is what makes the world a better place." Lily was speechless. She couldn't take her eyes off Keanu. Her heart was pounding, and she felt a mixture of disbelief and gratitude. But why would someone like him care about her? "Why would someone like you care about me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I'm just a waitress." Keanu smiled, this time with a deeper expression, as if he was looking at something beyond the obvious. "You are much more than that. You have a heart that money can't buy. And that, Lily, is what the world needs, people like you who still believe in kindness in such a complicated world." Then, with a calm gesture, Keanu pulled an envelope from his coat and handed it to her. "This is the deed to a small cafe in the city center. It's yours. I want you to consider it an investment in someone who deserves it. I know you can do something incredible with this, not just for yourself, but for all those who need it." Lily stared at the envelope, stunned. She didn't know what to say. Her eyes filled with tears, but she tried to contain them. She felt overwhelmed. How could she accept something so big? But Keanu insisted, almost with a gentle but firm urgency. "Just promise me one thing," he said, his voice low but full of intention. "Stay the same person who inspired me. Don't let the money or the success change you. Keep helping others just as you did with that boy. The world needs more people like you." With those words, Keanu turned and walked back to his car with the same calmness with which he had arrived. Lily, still in shock, looked down at the envelope, her hands trembling. The car pulled away down the street and disappeared, leaving a trail of mystery and hope in the air. That night, as she rested in her small apartment, Lily's mind wouldn't stop spinning. She thought about what had happened, about the impact this encounter had had on her life. From that moment on, she knew her life would never be the same. She began working tirelessly to make her cafe a reality, a refuge for those who needed it most, just as she had always dreamed. Though not everything went exactly as planned, she understood that fate had crossed her path with someone like Keanu Reeves for a reason, a reminder that kindness, however small, can change the world.